So, renters, I truly feel for them. I was a renter for many years, and renters really need to realize what's going on right now. It's not just renters versus landlords. Renters need to realize that landlords need to service their debts as well. You can't just take away the incentive to provide value as a landlord, especially during a time where rate vacancy is below 1%.
1%?
Yeah, 1%. Most properties in Vancouver are not cash flow positive. When renters do make the move to become homeowners eventually, they will realize that it isn't what they thought it'd be. There's massive risks associated, such as foreclosure, there's insurance, there's fire. Renters will realize, being a property owner, you also have a landlord who is also the bank. It isn't renters versus landlords. It's renters are truly getting shafted due to landlords having to service debts which are inflated by the government's incompetence. There's a clear distraction from the fact that the ruling class is currently waging an active class war and stole trillions of dollars of wealth from the working class last year. Truly, inflation is, it's a silent tax. And it goes to show that the fiat currency is literally backed by nothing. And they can print money essentially out of thin air.
Matt Brevner for Rebel News. I'm at 1289 Hornby Street in downtown Vancouver. It's actually one of the newest luxury condo builds in the city. And I'm with real estate agent Josh Wong. Josh, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Josh and I are going to chat about what's become of BC's housing market pre and post-pandemic. Stay tuned. So Josh, thanks for being on Rebel News today.
Thanks, Matt. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So can you tell us a little bit about this building and where we are right now?
So we're at the One Burrard Place, which is a brand new condo that just completed. There was some delay, but this is one of the most high-end buildings in the downtown area. Amazing amenities, great location, and this is the place to be.
Have you noticed, I guess, on the back of all of these interest rate hikes, have things been as busy as they were maybe 6 months ago?
Well, 6 months ago, things were crazy. The market was hot, as everybody knew. And the moment the government started to implement these interest rate hikes, things definitely started to cool down. Of course, the government wanted to counter inflation. And by doing so, they had to raise interest rates, right? And we can, from a realtor's perspective, we can definitely see the pain. It's much harder to get mortgages, and it's essentially a snowball effect.
Have you noticed that prices have decreased in correlation with the interest rate hikes so far? Or?
It's funny you say that. Being from Vancouver, Vancouver is a very special city where typically properties don't get quite as affected as other areas such as rural cities. But yeah, we have started to see some slippage in terms of pricing.
So you mentioned slippage in the housing market. About a year ago, during peak feeding frenzy, what would a studio apartment like this, a new build in downtown Vancouver, go for?
That's a good question. As of last year, a unit like this would have had multiple offers, subject free, and it was, like you said, a feeding frenzy. There'd be multiple bids, and compared to where we are today, things have definitely cooled down. People are a lot more careful when they're buying properties because there's actually, of course, as you know, there's less competition. So there's more subjects when it comes to offers. People are taking their time. So this is a more balanced market, which is actually a good thing, for the people looking to get into the Vancouver market.
So because of rising interest rates, there are fewer buyers that are available to qualify for a property like this one, like a studio apartment in Vancouver. Where's inventory at in our market?
So inventory is actually shrinking alongside, and that's again based on the interest rate raises. So just to break it down, what's happening right now is every time these interest rates increase, people are getting not currently priced out of the prices of Vancouver real estate, but they're being priced out from obtaining a mortgage. So you have to understand that we are actually expecting more interest rate hikes, and that's really going to start affecting the market. I currently believe the market still hasn't seen total capitulation just as of yet. There's a lot of sellers who are still thinking that they can get pretty high prices, and I think that they will start to come back to earth and realize that buyers excuse me, just don't have the capacity to obtain mortgages anymore.
Have you noticed, obviously, variable mortgages have been a very popular product in Canadian real estate, especially over the past 5 years when people are getting interest rates of 0.9% and whatever else. Have you been seeing clients of yours kind of a little squirmish and feeling the pain because of these interest rate hikes?
Well, here's the thing. There are folks out there with variable rates who got variable at 1.5%, during the pandemic last year. Currently, rates are about 5.5 right now, and once their rates become triggered, they are going to be expecting, a fair bump in their mortgage payments. However, on the other hand, I truly believe where the max pain is going to be is the people that had locked in 5-year rates from 5 years ago that are going to be renewing their mortgages. Their payments are going to be out the roof. And I believe that's where we're going to see some serious foreclosures happening.
Okay, switching gears a little bit, Josh. I was out a couple of weeks ago, and the federal Liberals were actually in Vancouver for a cabinet retreat. They're here from this September 6th to 8th to discuss affordability for the average Canadian. So we went out to Surrey Central, and we just asked people, what is it that the Liberals could do for you to make your life more affordable? And overwhelmingly, they all said rent prices.
The first thing that comes in mind living in Vancouver is housing.
Just more places to rent, cheaper price. Housing is out of this world, so the prices need to come down, make it more fair for the average person.
I want that rent should be reduced of the basement and the houses.
Makes life easier and drop the charges of the rent.
What are some things you'd like to see the Liberal government do to make life more affordable for you?
Personally, I'd just like to see them resign.
There's been a lot of calls, not only in Canada, but internationally. Actually, Scotland became one of the first countries to put a rent freeze on landlords. And I've been seeing calls all over the Lower Mainland for rent freezes. And, it seems like a popular idea, something that's gaining steam. As a real estate agent, what do you think about that?
I was a renter myself, and I truly feel for the renters that are out there in Vancouver right now, because it truly is unaffordable. Our average rent price is for a 1-bedroom in Vancouver is approximately $2,400. And the average median income for Vancouver is about $3,400 a month. That's 67% of their salary, right? And that doesn't make any sense. I mean, of course, people aren't going to be able to save. They're not going to be able to put food on the table, especially with, inflation that's happening. So, renters, I truly feel for them. I was a renter for many years. And renters really need to realize what's going on right now. It's not just renters versus landlords. Renters need to realize that landlords need to service their debts as well. You can't just take away the incentive to provide value as a landlord, especially during a time where rate vacancy is below 1%.
1%?
Yeah, 1%. Most properties in Vancouver are not cash flow positive. When renters do make the move to become homeowners eventually, they will realize that it isn't what they thought it'd be. There's massive risks associated, such as foreclosure, there's insurance, there's fire. Renters will realize being a property owner, you you also have a landlord who is also the bank. It isn't renters versus landlords. It's renters are truly getting shafted due to landlords having to service debts which are inflated by the government's incompetence.
This budget and the emissions reduction plan of the week before is about real results for people like Laurie and David, and especially Alexandria. Whether it's climate action or making housing more affordable, we're investing in Canadians and in our future.
If you take away a landlord's incentive, it's not going to be a good thing. They're going to turn to Airbnbs. They're going to turn to rent evictions, right? They're going to have their families moving in. The supply is going to only decrease, not increase. The truth of the matter is that the government, number one, needs to stop printing money. Inflation is literally killing Canadians from all aspects, right? It's increasing the interest rates. It's jacking up the mortgage payments for landlords, and in turn, that's affecting renters. Nothing is becoming affordable anymore. So government has to come and fix the supply situation.
As many people that are calling for a rent freeze, there's also landlords that are calling for protection. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, landlords also need to understand that there is a reason buying rental properties is called an investment, right? And by definition, an investment means that there are rewards, but there are also risks involved. Landlords have to accept the fact that sometimes investments go through periods of less profitability and sometimes even negative returns. The current danger in the climate right now is over-leveraged investors, right? So investors who, got a little bit too greedy, refinanced their home multiple times in order to buy up more property. They're the ones who are getting shafted right now. They're the ones who are going to be feeling the most pain, right? And, at the end of the day, they need to realize that it was a risk that they took, and if they end up defaulting, whose fault is it really at the end of the day, right? I am concerned with what's happening right now. It is definitely going to create a snowball effect on the entire economy, because Canadians are very over leveraged. They've taken out HELOCs, line of credits. Credit has risen drastically over the last year alone, right? And interest rates are really going to hurt them in the long run. So in Canada, we have basically a mortgage stress test, meaning you have to qualify for more than you can actually afford in case of rate increases.
Far too many young people are reliant on family money and their parents or grandparents to try and help them get in, and far too many people aren't able to do that as well. There are inequalities in the housing system that we have to tackle, and it's not something that has any one quick fix.
Now, do you think the stress test has actually been helpful, or do you think it's maybe been a little bit of co-signing and people biting off more than they can chew just to qualify for?
Well, I do believe that they bit off a little bit more than they can chew. Currently stress test is set at 7%, which is actually extremely high. Even somebody with a $100,000 salary, with a stress test, they can take home, their mortgage would be less than $400,000 that they can apply for.
Yeah, and you can't get anything.
No, you can't get anything with a $100,000 salary. And I mean, that's a fairly high salary, and being in Vancouver, what can you afford for that much, right?
Yeah, I mean, $100,000 salary, that's higher than just the median income by a long shot. Never mind just for a single earner.
There's a clear distraction from the fact that the ruling class is currently waging an active class war, and stole trillions of dollars of wealth from the working class last year. Truly, inflation is, it's a silent tax. And it goes to show that the fiat currency is literally backed by nothing, and they can print money essentially out of thin air.
Canada got on this quantitative easing train in the Stephen Harper era, and it was supposed to be just temporary so that we could avoid the carnage that, our neighbors in the South saw in 2008. But Canada just never stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. And, during COVID, the government gave away a lot of money, right? And for the regular folks, they would think that, oh, great, free money. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that it's that money that we received, it's pennies to the dollar, which doesn't even reach parity with what they have inflated out of our pockets. Inflation truly is just taxing the poor.
What we've actually set forward in this budget, and it was a commitment we made in the last election campaign, a commitment that the Conservative Party of Canada chose to campaign against, was that we would be investing $4 billion in a housing accelerator that would allow cities to go even faster on densification, to cut red tape.
We're seeing a lot of rhetoric from the Liberal Party right now in light of Pierre Poilievre's leadership of the Conservative Party, saying that, the conservative monetary policies are radical and dangerous. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't believe that whatsoever, because let's face it, we need a change. We need a change of government. This clearly isn't working out. Trudeau isn't doing his job as a prime minister. Canada is broken in many different aspects. You look at the housing market. You look at the whole macroeconomic of the entirety of Canada. It's broken, right? And nothing is being done to it. We need a change of government. We truly need somebody who stands for the people. And, in my opinion, I do believe that Pierre might be that change. They push right versus left. They push renters versus landlords. And what they do is they hide the rich versus poor, right? The rich doubled their wealth from $700 billion to $1.5 trillion, during the first 2 years of the pandemic, while the net worth of 99% of the rest of humanity fell, forcing over 160 million people into poverty. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. So people need to be looking at the bigger picture here, rather than what is just happening in front of them. And truly change comes from curiosity. We need major reform when it comes to housing. We need tax relief at the pumps, and more importantly, we need more common sense spending from the government.
Okay, so Josh, if our viewers want a like-minded realtor in the Vancouver area, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
They can visit my website, which is joshwongrealtor.com. I would be happy to help anybody out who's looking to get into the Vancouver real estate market.
Awesome. Thanks for being on Rebel News.
Thank you.
At Rebel News, we're completely independent. So what that means is we don't take a dollar from the federal government to bring you reports like this. In fact, we rely solely on viewers like you to get it done. So if you appreciate the journalism that we do, why not show us a little bit of love? And a special way you can do that is by buying yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie. If you go to rebelnewsstore.com, you can get some fresh new designs like this one I'm wearing right here, the Expose the Reset shirt, or my new favorite, Just Inflation. That's rebelnewsstore.com. Thanks.